Okay, hello everyone. My guest today is Andreas David Christou, a very special person. I find him on the social media, very interesting. I see the good side of social media that we can find like-minded people all around the world. We were born in different countries, growing up with total different life, but at the end follow a similar lifestyle as grown-up adults, and I find him very interesting because, wow, this guy is exercising outdoors like me. He's doing similar training methods, following a similar diet, and I find him cool and interesting, so I invited him for a good conversation. So, hello, Andreas. Let me
Hello, Mihaly. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, and thanks for joining. And let's talk about yourself a little bit. Tell me about your background. Where did you born? What are you doing now?
Yep.
And how did you end up in this fitness world and the mitochondrial health?
So I'll start by my childhood. That's how where my story actually began, because I'm originally from Cyprus. I currently live in Cyprus right now. I've lived in many different countries over the years because of my studying, but also living and trying to find the optimal place to live in the world based on my current value system. But how my journey began when I was 14 years old. I was, becoming slowly an obese individual until that point in life. And that's what actually got me started in the fitness journey in general. So my initial motivation to actually get into fitness was to lose weight and to just in general feel better and more confident in my body. I wasn't thinking, of course, so much about health at such a young age. I was more thinking about how do I look and how do I feel, because I was, embarrassed and I didn't feel confident in school and I was shy. And so that really drove me to try and push myself to change. And so once I stepped my foot in the gym, that was like the day which changed my life forever, because since then I kept on educating myself, by reading books and blogs and doing so much research over the years. And after that, after many years of training in the gym, I realized that there are many other forms of exercising beyond bodybuilding style training, because that was the majority of the training that I was doing at the beginning. I was trying to transform my body, but I also wasn't so much aware of other forms of training. Because when you go in a gym, the first thing that you see is like you see a ton of machines, you see weights, you see people mainly practicing bodybuilding style training, even though they are not bodybuilders, but that is the style of training that they are doing. They're doing isolation work, hypertrophy work, because that is the what is taught, to the masses. And so unconventional training, functional training, mobility and stuff like that is not something that you generally see, but now gyms these days are slowly accommodating more and more towards that area of fitness as well by, building functional areas. And, as you see as well, the evolution of, functional training and functional specific gyms and even CrossFit and stuff like that, we see that how the awareness about fitness has not been only just about building muscle, but also focusing on function and stuff like that. So what led me actually into that is because over the years of doing a lot of isolation work in bodybuilding, and I lost all the weight and transformed my body successfully, I then started to develop a lot of aches and pains in my joints. And when I met my partner Tina, she was more into this mobility type of training, yoga, functional training, and endurance type of sports. She wasn't so interested in hypertrophy or strength training and stuff like that. And so basically, when she showed me that world, that really like revealed to me that there is a whole another reality and aspect to fitness than just building and pumping your muscles. And so I started to understand that, okay, it's not only important to, build your physique, but it's important to take care of your physique, to give it some tender loving care and to work on the mobility, to work on the function. How does the body work together as a unit instead of separate pieces? Because when we train in isolation, we are only teaching that specific muscle to work by itself, because that is the point of isolation. So it's not that isolation type training or hypertrophy training is necessarily bad. Everything has time and place. Just that we need to understand that we need to have other aspects of fitness training if we actually want to be healthy in our body, right? So I just basically jumped to how I started versus what I'm doing now. I'm doing a mixture of everything. I'm doing a mixture of bodybuilding style training, powerlifting, unconventional training, outdoor training. So I'm mixing everything together because I find that's the best approach for me, because I don't only want to function well, but I also want to look good, and the other way around. So I don't only want to look good, but I want to function well. So this is very, very important for me, and very important to show the world that you can have all aspects of fitness together. You don't have to choose just one thing, because it's not that one is like bad and one is good. Everything is good if you extract what is useful from every aspect of fitness. And so, yeah, so that's where I am right now in my training career. But in terms of like work, I work as a movement specialist and coach, personal trainer, nutritionist, and also a lifestyle optimization coach. So I use a very holistic approach when it comes to health and fitness, because I understand and acknowledge that fitness and exercising and nutrition are only a small part of the puzzle, right? So if you don't get your lifestyle correct, those things almost are not going to have such a big impact on your life. So how you sleep is more important than your training, to be honest, because how you sleep will determine how your whole day will go, your energy levels, your recovery, and your cognitive functions. So this is why now I'm using a very holistic approach, as I've learned over the years that it's not only about just exercising and nutrition, but about bringing everything together to bring the best package for people so they can see the most optimal and sustainable results.
Yeah, sounds very good. I like your approach and absolutely agree. Training and the lifestyle things. Yeah, I believe also there is a hierarchy in the training, or every fitness method can have its place depending on your goals, and we have sometimes also in our age different periods, which is more important. Some young guys maybe building the muscles is the most important, and they don't see other things exist in the fitness world, but develop, you will find out you are missing this part and that part, you are more stiff, you need more mobility, you cannot run 10 kilometers just easy, so you need to focus also a bit on the endurance part. It's a whole big story, big puzzle, and it's right there. Fitness is just one part of this bigger picture.
Yes,
To the good lifestyle, to have energy for the trainings, for example,
exactly.
real life and long-term health.
Mm.
Yeah, lot of
One
things.
thing which I like to tell, people is that, it's not that your training is like necessarily bad. It's just that why you need to ask yourself, why does my training suck? If your training sucks or if it doesn't feel good, it tells you more about your lifestyle. Or if your joints hurt during specific exercise or even functional exercises, why does your body feel like that? It's revealing to you, fitness and exercise is revealing to you the problems that you have in your life that you are not addressing. So actually, like, it's not that the exercise is causing the problem, unless you are causing a very physical damage. But if you are not, and it's just causing you pain by doing a simple squat, let's say, then that means that there is an issue in the other aspects of your life. Like, what are you doing those 23 hours outside of your training? That has a huge impact on your performance and your recovery and your ability to be able to perform in exercise. So exercise is almost like a revealer of the things that you need to address.
Yeah, it's not good and still all interconnected. I wanted to say that your sleep affects your next day hormone levels, energy levels, appetite, you feel trainings, and training or dieting alone cannot fix everything, if I believe. And it's interesting. I wanted to ask you what kind of lifestyle habit you call also biohacks you tried before, which was cool and you find it useful, keep it in the long run, or which was not worth it, didn't notice significant difference?
So I've tried so many like biohacks over the years, but the ones that I have maintained or kept for the long term are the ones that I have found that are based on foundational principles. Those are the ones that I find that have been the most useful to keep and maintain because I have seen the biggest impact in those. And I also understand the validity in the fact that they are foundational to our health. So like over the years, I've tried saunas, ice baths, red light therapy devices, all different kinds of supplements, basically I've tried every single thing in terms of, biohacking. Some things that I haven't tried is like maybe hyperbaric oxygen chamber, which I would like to try at some point if I get access to something like this, or maybe like hydrogen water, but that is a little bit of a sketchy field as well. So yeah, those are like some things that I haven't tried, but the ones that I have like maintained over the years are based on like circadian biology and seasonal biology. So things like cold exposure in the right context, blocking the blue light after dark, and especially in the daytime if you are indoors and under artificial lighting and you don't have any windows open. Like saunas are one thing that I really love. I think those are super useful as well. Like red light therapy is something that I feel that is also a fantastic tool, but shouldn't be the primary way of getting red light. We can maybe talk about that like soon. And so basically everything is focused around mitochondrial health, mitochondrial function, how this is optimizing our system, because the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell, is supplying the cells with the energy that we need to be able to function, to heal, to regenerate, to have energy, to detoxify. So all of these processes, they cannot take place in the body if our mitochondria are not producing the energy. And if the mitochondria are damaged, so they cannot produce the energy. So if the cells begin to run out of energy, they begin to die. And so when they begin to die, obviously at a faster rate than we are rebuilding, we are in a catabolic state. This is not like ideal for our system, right? So we need to have a balance between anabolism and catabolism. And so also there is a big risk of cells mutating because cells cannot actually die correctly without energy either. So then after we have things growing in our body that are not meant to be there. And so this is why like focusing on circadian principles and seasonal, principles, this is what's allowing us to build our health outside of exercising and nutrition, which is playing a massive foundation for building the rest of our health on top of.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Which topic and connected to each other now. Let's get back to training a little bit. What kind of trainings are you doing now, and why do you believe you should integrate these unconventional methods you are doing?
So I'm still doing like some bodybuilding style training at the moment. So I do utilize the gym environment because I don't have a home gym at the moment, but I used to have a home gym in the past with circadian appropriate lighting. So all the lighting in my home, even now, the lighting in my home is all like red, infrared light bulbs, and I have also UVA light bulbs if I need to spend time indoors. So I use those at different times of the day, but none of my lights in the house are basically blue lights. So before, when I used to have home gym, it used to be perfect because I could have, all the windows open. I could put my circadian appropriate lighting on, and it would be like a perfect environment to train in. Now I'm also like training in a conventional gym, which obviously has blue lights. But the thing is that there is like, it's all about context, right? Because I hear a lot of people who vilify like gym environments because of the blue lights and the non-native electromagnetic fields which are causing stress to our body. That's how they are harmful, because they are causing excessive stress on our system. Now, an individual who is spending the majority of their time indoors in like the whole day, and then they are going to a gym environment like that, is probably not ideal for your health, because already you have been stressing your system the entire day indoors. And then you then go to another indoor environment and you stress your body more by exercising, and you are probably not doing holistic movement. You're probably doing bodybuilding or strength training, right, in a gym environment. And that's loading your nervous system quite a lot. So this is why me and you, we are big proponents of outdoor training. So I think the beauty is, if the future of fitness is for gyms to listen to our message and to start to utilize circadian appropriate lighting and block the EMFs in the gym and open their windows, but also for gym owners or entrepreneurs to build outdoor gym environments, maybe in shade or whatever. It doesn't have to be in direct sunlight, but so that it's more of a natural environment for human function and physiology. And so yeah, I incorporate both indoor training and outdoor training, and I have a very outdoor lifestyle. So anyway, it's okay for me if I spend 1 hour of the day in an indoor environment, right, in a blue lit environment. But somebody who is not living like me, it's not the best idea to go and train like this. And this is why the beauty about unconventional training and bodyweight training, holistic movement and calisthenics and all this kind of stuff, is that you don't need equipment and you can do it anywhere, anytime. So I also do this type of training as well. So a couple of times per week, I do some unconventional training, mobility work, which is, including kettlebells, steel mace, more of this like hardcore kind of stuff that you see on my Instagram and YouTube channel. But I also do the bodybuilding style work because I really enjoy it, and that's what I grew up with. That was like my initial starting point. So it's a really big passion for me, and that's something that I want to keep on doing for the rest of my life. And so the reason why I incorporate functional training and unconventional training into my training routine is because it's not useful to do only bodybuilding training, especially if you're thinking about human function, because you want the system to work as a unit, to work as a whole. And these type of exercises and movements that you can see on mine and Mihalis's Instagram are the ones that are making the body work together as a unit from head to toe. How does the body work together as a chain instead of separate compartments? Because if you put, let's say, somebody who is always doing isolation training to try and do some jumping or sprinting or any human movement like this, you will see that there is a disconnect in the movement, and also a big possibility of risk of injury as well. But if you practice, slowly getting into these type of activities, you can be extremely functional. But you can also, if you carry on your bodybuilding work, you can also, have big muscles as well. So there's no reason why you can't be functional but also have big muscles. You just have to train both things at the same time, and they have to have a time and place in your weekly routine schedule, because some people think that doing once every couple of weeks this type of training, unconventional training, is enough to be functional. But in reality, human function is required 24/7. It's required all the time. So it's very important that we train our body, at least once or twice per week in this form of training, if we actually want to maintain good athletic capability. And when I say athletic capability, I don't refer to being an athlete, because being human is to be athletic. That is like the human state. That's how it should be.
Yeah, thanks for the long introduction about this approach. And yeah, I absolutely agree. Gyms should be more nature connected and optimal.
Yeah, definitely.
Lighting, open the windows at least. Yeah, my dream gym is also open air outdoor gym, fully equipped with all the cool weights and useful things. But it's surrounded with natural light, even with a small roof to give shade. Perfect.
Absolutely.
And the movement is also complex topic, and everything has a place. I believe that we also should do some kind of bodybuilding training to gain a basic amount of muscle, because if you don't have muscle, what you want to do with more advanced stuff like calisthenics or even speed work can work better if you have some kind of muscle.
Exactly.
Faster. And I see that we as humans are capable of many different kind of movements, and why don't we use it? So I feel I'm using 1% of my potential if I do only one kind of trainings.
Yeah,
So that's
exactly. You just hit a perfect
right.
point right there, where you
Yeah.
mentioned about like you know, why not use it? So that it came to me the phrase use it or lose it, right? So if you don't do the function, if you do not squat every single day, you cannot expect that you can squat when you are 90 or when you are 100 years old. The goal is to be able to maintain human function, these basic human functions, getting up and down from the floor, squatting up and down, raising the arms over the head, being able to pull ourselves up, you know, throwing things. You know, these are the basic human functions that we are designed to do, and they are most important to us beyond muscle, right? So if we do not practice these fundamental functions on a daily basis, we are going to lose these abilities, right? And most people now, if they try and go and throw a stone at the beach, they are probably going to hurt their shoulder, right? Because they have literally, they are disconnected from how do I even connect all the pieces of my body together to be able to throw the stone efficiently. There has to be a fundamental understanding, right? So the key is that we need to practice basic fundamental movements on a daily basis so we do not lose the function. When we look at children, they have perfect human movement. And I believe one of the reasons why we lose this perfect human movement is because of school. And this is a very sad story, right? Because we are not thinking about it, that it can be detrimental, but just the fact that we are sitting in a chair for so many hours in a day, it's literally solidifying our body. It's making us stiffer. And because the variety of movement is so little, our brain is getting stagnated. The blood flow is less all over the body. And there are many detrimental effects to, you know, sitting beyond just stiffness, right? We are literally shrinking our brain because the majority of the brain is devoted towards movement. That is why we have such a big brain, because the brain size is based on how wide is our movement library. So our brain is pretty small when we are young and when we are crawling. But as soon as when we stand up on our 2 feet, now our brain develops at a very rapid rate, because now the amount of information my body has is way less about the environment. And this is what we call proprioception. So when the feet are in contact with the ground, now I have less information compared to before when I was a child and I was crawling on my hands and my feet. So now I have less information, which means that my brain has to develop very, very quickly to understand that, okay, now I'm standing on only 2 limbs. I have to develop all of this, you know, human function to be able to stand upright and to be able to locomote, so to walk and run and to sprint.
Yeah, it's also good. I heard first time this approach that how much information you get in different positions or how many limbs are you connected. And that's why I'm also a big fan of barefoot training, because there are much more nerve endings which are connected to the surface compared
Absolutely.
to shoes. So if I exaggerate, I always imagine that I have a big, huge, massive ski boots, which you can just pump, 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 going slowly, and you are not moving nice. If you are barefoot, you have much more input from the environment, and you can have this fine motor control.
Exactly. Yeah, the feet are so important because they give us information about our like body position in space. So, you know, if you tilt your head over your center of mass, which is like the center of your body, imagine your hips being like the center of mass. Then if your head is going forward, obviously you are going to be activating different muscles to prevent you from falling forward. If you lean back a little, you are going to be activating other muscles on the front of your body to prevent you from falling back as well. So it's so important to have bare feet or even barefoot shoes, because this is allowing us to sense more about our environment, and this is giving a feedback to the brain about how it should respond on the muscle level, like whether it should be loose or tight in specific areas to be able to adapt to the environment, because the body is meant to be adaptive. And the reason why we encounter so many injuries during repetitive sports, such as in running or sprinting, is because we are dissociating our feet from the ground, because we are wearing cushioned shoes. And when we are doing something repetitive like long distance running, especially, this is allowing us to break the laws of nature. So long distance running, excessive long distance running, is not really sustainable or possible so frequent with barefoot shoes, but it becomes possible with cushioned shoes. And so now this is allowing us to bombard our joints on at a consistent basis, because now we are able to defy the laws of nature. We are able to not feel the pain on our feet, and we are not able to even sense and react from the ground up to tell our body what to do, in terms of our like muscle synergies or our muscle coordination. And this is now increasing our risk of injury due to the fact that we are not sensing the environment around us and how our body should respond according to our foot.
Yes, I believe we should practice more natural movements and not so much the same repetitive cyclical movement. I can tell you more about, because I came also from the competitive professional sport. In the canoe, it is paddling on one, kneeling on one knee almost the whole year. And I had also many pain and injuries here and there. Even if I was in my best shape in my life and winning this and that race, I had injuries and pain everywhere. And yeah, that was one reason I switched to this more broad spectrum of movement and healthier way of exercising.
Yeah.
I still do some here and there long distance running, but it's just small percent of my training routine. Different stuff. And
it's
in this field, that movement or exercise, this, what is the difference? Do you believe? Already told a few things.
Yes. So I just wanted to say something on your last point about the repetition, the repetitiveness of the exercise. That basically, yeah, it's so funny how like you and me, or in general everybody who gets in this unconventional or functional training space and mobility training stuff, it all comes because you reach a point where you are in so much discomfort, in so much pain, that you don't have any other choice. And this is the point where I was as well in my training career, and this is why it led me down the path to to want to incorporate more of these things into my training schedule. So it just shows you that, okay, like you have to change your mental approach about what actually is healthy, in terms of movement. And when you are doing something repetitive, like you said, if you don't have enough recovery time, if you're always overusing one side, so if you are doing that canoeing sport where you are kneeling forward and you're always pushing on the same side, you're always using the same muscles, and you're never in that sport. I have a question for you. Do you never like have the ability to switch sides?
No, if you want to go fast, there's no time for switching.
No, but I mean during training, for example, are you able to do both sides?
Absolutely not common. Few guys, including me, were doing after training 5 minutes on the other side. But usually we are absolutely beginners on the other side. It's so funny. You are world class level paddling on one side, then you switch on the other, you are almost like a beginner and falling out of the boat.
Yeah, it's because you get so conditioned and so good at doing
system, yeah. But I was practicing a little bit, but it was of course still not in balance with the hours of peaks and years of one side, few minutes here and on the other side. But it was just feeling good. I felt it's really good.
One training modality which I have found, which is incredible, which is like a unconventional, is like rope flow. Have you heard of rope flow before?
No, what is it about?
So rope flow is the idea of moving the rope around your body instead of jumping through the rope. So you can see these types of movements on my Instagram and also on my YouTube channel. The inventor of rope flow is David Weck, the guy who invented the Bosu ball. So the guy who invented the Bosu ball, he also invented the Propulse speed trainers, which are two handheld kind of containers which have like balls, beads inside, which basically slam at the bottom every time you make a strike during running. It helps you coordinate your limbs and helps you run faster because you are punching down with the ground, and it also puts the tension in the fascial system. But back to rope flow, the idea is that you are using both sides equally, right? And you have movements which are based on gait, which is walking and running, but this is serving the foundation of martial arts as well. So it's an incredible like training modality. You can do it every single day because it doesn't tax the nervous system, and it also doesn't break down so much muscle depending on the weight of the rope that you use. And it's an amazing way to get like cardio in, to get like mobility in your without even thinking about training your mobility, because that's the beautiful thing about this, is that you are doing the movements, you are going left and right and making like a figure-8 type of motion and doing all these different movements with the rope without jumping through the rope, and it's improving your mobility because you are just doing it passively. And that's actually the best way to improve mobility, because when we are not thinking about it, our brain is able to integrate things way better than when we are trying to force the body to do something, you know?
Yeah, I like this idea. I didn't hear
It's
this
very
method.
cool. You should check it out. You should check it out after our podcast.
It absolutely makes sense, and I do similar stuff. And sometimes I believe the mobility is not only about these specific targeted exercises. You
Yes,
can gain it with just practicing natural movements. So
yes, exactly.
sitting on the floor in various positions. Like now, when we are recording, I'm sitting on the floor on the carpet. Sometimes I
Nice.
change
I'm
the
sitting in the
position.
chair, so now I'm breaking the rules.
Yeah, but it's okay if you do many other exercises during the day. I also believe sitting on a
Exactly.
chair is not the problem. The problem is that you are sitting 8 hours every day.
Yes, you got that right. You see, this is where people get it wrong, right? It's so easy on social media these days because everything is about clicks and about views. And everyone is making everything to seem like this is like the worst thing that you could ever do. Well, actually, no. Like, for example, like people vilify coffee. They say that you should never drink coffee. Like, okay, I'm not saying that I'm pro coffee or anti coffee, but I don't believe one coffee is gonna kill you. Just the same thing as sitting in a chair for 1 hour is gonna be like detrimental for your mobility or your health. Like it's all about context. Like if you drink 10 coffees a day, then it can be extremely harmful for you. And the same thing as if you sit 8 hours in a chair, it's gonna be very harmful for you. The same thing with sun exposure by being outside. If you spend the whole day in the sun and you haven't conditioned your skin to be able to handle the sun, and you burn, then of course it's not good for you. But if you actually go out at the right times of the day, you take advantage of the sunrise, you take advantage of the sunset, you have good circadian habits, then the sun is beneficial for you because the sun is crucial for life. Nothing exists on this planet without the sun, right? So anyway, back to where we were. Sorry for the tangent there.
No, but it's a good reminder that nothing is black and white, and you should always have to see the context behind
Yeah, exactly.
one, one method or a substance or whatever can be bad for one person depending on his context, but it can be absolutely neutral, even good for another person and other conditions.
Exactly.
And yeah, so we are into this movement exercise world, and one interesting topic also the mobility versus the stretching.
Yeah.
But many people believe that stretching is the way. You should do a lot of passive stretching, and then you will be flexible and mobile. But now, as we are more into this movement, see that there is more a time efficient way, maybe gaining
Yes.
flexibility only with the
Yes.
movement. How do you see this?
Exactly. Yeah, you hit it right on the head, on the right spot. So basically, like when we refer to, I'll answer the first question first about the movement versus exercise. So, well, movement is what we need, right? Movement is a biological necessity. It's what we require to be able to do our daily life tasks. We need to be able to get up and down, to roll around, to squat, to be able to climb upstairs, to throw things, to pick things up, to move them over our head, to pull ourselves up. This is like fundamental human movement. But the difference between movement and exercise, exercising is an intended, like, devoted 1 hour time where you are pushing yourself for a specific goal, for a specific, target, right? So it's like an intended high intensity effort. Whereas like movement is something that you require to be able to live, to be able to function. And so that's the difference between movement and exercise. Of course, you can take natural movement patterns and you can make them into exercises by doing repetition. So basically, like by taking any natural movement and you can just repeat it over and over, like for repetitions and sets, and taking rest periods. This way you can practice your human function in an exercise format. So that's like addressing the movement versus exercise aspect. Did you want to say something about this?
Well, I was just curious about your opinion, or how you use the stretching, traditional methods like passive stretching.
Yes.
How many percentage in your training routine mobility work, more alive, dynamic stuff, or how much passive?
Yeah. So the thing is that passive stretching is not inherently bad. Again, talking with context, right? So it has its time and place, like everything has its time and place, just like surgery has its time and place. You don't want to do surgery every single day, right? But you want to use it if you really need it. If you are in an accident or something, touch wood, you want to be able to have access to that. So the same thing with like passive stretching. If let's say you really need to like open up your body for like, you feel extremely stiff getting off the chair, doing it for like 10 seconds or something is not going to be harmful for you. But if you are purposefully doing passive stretching for prolonged periods of time, holding the stretches beyond 30 seconds to a minute, then we have a problem, because what we are doing now, we are rewiring the brain and how the muscle is operating together. And so when we are doing passive stretching, now the muscle is becoming longer than the brain likes. And so this actually makes us stiffer. So in the long term, temporarily, it will give us the relief that we are looking for. It will increase blood flow to the tissue and it will oxygenate the tissue. These are some benefits of stretching for sure, which are undeniable. However, if we overstretch muscles, the response of the body, because the brain is always thinking about survival and about being in terms of safety, it doesn't like it when you overstretch a muscle, because now you are showing it that you don't have control over that muscle. Because once you overstretch it, now you didn't stretch it through strength. You stretched it through by being passive, by forcing it to go there. And so how do we actually stretch a muscle in a healthy way? So stretching the muscle in a healthy way is occurring during full range of motion exercises. For example, instead of trying to stretch the quadricep muscles by holding the back of the leg and pulling it and doing a quad stretch, classic quad stretch that you see runners do, instead of doing that, you can do a squat all the way down and all the way up. That is stretching the quad equally as much, but in a more healthy way, because now you are stretching it through strength, because gravity is all the time pushing down. You are applying load on the muscle while the muscle is lengthening simultaneously. Now, in passive stretching, that's not happening. That's why we say passive, right? Because passive means we are disassociated. We are not engaged in the activity. So that means that we are just falling into the position. We are just allowing our muscles to lengthen and lengthen and lengthen like a spaghetti noodle. And then afterwards, there is no control. The muscle is too loose. So then afterwards, the body's response to that is to make it tighter. And so if we want our mobility to stay, or our ability to be able to move our joints through full range of motion and to have very good flexibility outside of our mobility training, We have to train it in a way we are doing full range exercises. Let's take another example, like your lats. Some people will maybe grab something and pull away and try and stretch their lats, or even turn to the side and really passively stretch that muscle. Or you can grab a pull-up bar and do a full range of motion pull-up all the way up and all the way down, hanging at the bottom. That will stretch the lats out way more and actually improve the function of the lat to be programmed to stay in this nice, healthy, and long state, even at rest, outside of training. So this is how we need to change our relationship and our understanding when it comes to muscle function. I believe the idea of stretching or passive stretching in general comes about due to the fact that we don't understand how the human body works. If we understand how the human body works, we then understand, okay, every single exercise that I do, I need to do it in full range of motion, not halfway. This is how you develop tight muscles, where then after you feel like you need to do stretching to solve the problem. So let's give another example of how to create tight muscles in a gym environment. If you only do bicep curls halfway, you only go halfway up, halfway down, you are not going to teach that muscle that, to never like be relaxed in a full range when you are outside of training, because you never go all the way down on the bicep curl. So you are teaching it to be in a contracted state all the time, which is, number one, very unhealthy for the muscle. It's getting less blood flow, which means less oxygen and less nutrients to the muscle. And then that means you cannot grow your muscle as much, because during the stretching phase of the exercise, that is where we tear the most amount of muscle fiber down, and we're able to develop bigger muscles. So that is another benefit of training our body through full range of motion.
Yeah, nice talk about this topic. I also believe that passive stretching has its place, and it sometimes feels good just to do nothing special, just passive stretching. And in the long run, better to gain strength. This full range of movement exercises, it's more yours than the passive stretching. It's giving you a quick result, but it's not yours. It's always jumping back where it was before, unless you visit every day. But so I really should practice more full range of movement, strength trainings. I have also personal experience. When I was doing the canoe, I had very stiff hamstrings, for example. I always did the passive stretching after training, putting my legs on the bench, doing this classic hamstring
and
stretch.
trying to force the body to
it was
go
feeling for a few minutes, but the next day it was the same shit. So, and it took me years until I find other methods, and I realized that, for example, my hamstring was weak relatively compared to other muscles. I started to do more deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, and things like this, which was making them stronger. I had nice hamstring. Now I'm much more flexible in this movement, and I don't do any passive stretching for the hamstrings, for example. I just do Romanian deadlift, single leg, Jefferson curls. Absolutely fine. I can go way on my toes with my wrist. I want to.
If you think about the deadlift as a movement, this is the perfect example of what people do when they are trying to stretch their hamstrings, right? You see a lot of people when they're trying to bend over and they're trying to bounce up and down to try and get their hands to the floor, right? To stretch their hamstrings. But the deadlift is the exact same movement that they are trying to do. The difference is there is load involved, there's strength involved. And because there is something pulling you down, if you do it with correct technique, with a nice and straight back, and you stick your bum out and you go as deep as you can, and you can even use a block or something to elevate your feet to go beyond the floor, that is how you gain extreme hamstring flexibility. Of course, people should take this with a grain of salt, right? And not everybody should start at that level. And this is, of course, dangerous if you don't know what you are doing. You need to hire a coach. But I'm saying that what I would do, to get flexible hamstrings, I would do full range deadlifts like yourself, and even elevate my feet on a block to go even beyond the floor so I can get an even bigger stretch while going all the way down. And then I don't need to do like stretching exercises because I've strengthened my muscles in such a long position where now my muscles are staying in this way outside of training.
Yeah, so accumulated knowledge in the last few years or decades, and need to find them and use it in a more efficient ways than old traditions. Okay, and let's move on to other general lifestyle habits. You told me you were traveling a lot. It was because work related, or wanted to find the very best place on the earth where you can live if you're good?
Sorry, I didn't hear your question because there was like a repeating sound. Could you repeat the question?
Okay, no problem. So I was saying that let's move on to more general lifestyle topics.
Yeah.
I heard that you were traveling a lot around the world.
Yeah.
My question was, it was related to work, or you just wanted to find a good place to live, you feel the best?
So basically, well, I'm originally from Cyprus, right? And I'm back here in Cyprus right now. But over the years, first, I wasn't traveling because I wanted to find somewhere to live, but I was traveling for my studying. So I went to Scotland and I did my studies in my nutrition degree. And that's where I met Tina, my partner. And afterwards, together, we traveled to the Netherlands to do our master's degree in movement sciences, which we specialized in rehabilitation. And then after that, we didn't want to live in the Netherlands, so we decided to move to Finland because we didn't know where we want to live, right? So we said, okay, let's go and try and live there. She's from Finland, so we went to live there. And because I had never lived there, I thought it would be an exciting and a different experience. And of course, here in Cyprus, we don't have snow, we don't have the cold. So for me, it's nice to see something that I'm not used to seeing. But after a couple of years living there, like 3 years, we both realized that actually we don't feel so great because the environment is so, in the winter, it's very long and dark, right? Like you don't have much light in the winter time, and the amount of hours of sunlight is very less as well. And so basically, like also in the summer, you have the opposite in Finland. You have like almost 24 hours like sunlight, depending on where you live in Finland, of course. But in Helsinki, where we live, like you have like sun until 12 o'clock in the evening in the summertime. So basically, we decided after 3 years of living there that we want to make a change because we started to get more into circadian biology and understanding the importance of being in the light and grounding and doing all this good stuff. And when we were in Finland, we were incorporating a lot of the biohacking things because I actually realized one thing when we moved to Cyprus, that the reason why Finland is one of the leading countries in biohacking is because you need to biohack to live in that environment. So you actually need to do the red light every day. You need to do cold exposure. You need to do the sauna. You need to eat the carnivore diet because this is in alignment with your environment, right? So this is now what led us to come here because we wanted to live a lifestyle with having to biohack less, but to use our environment as the original biohack. So now we're back in Cyprus. We've been in Cyprus for 2 years, but at one point after living in Cyprus for 1 year, we thought that maybe we want to try and live in Costa Rica. So we went like a couple of months ago, was it maybe October last year until January this year, we were living in Costa Rica and we actually sold everything and we left Cyprus. We didn't know if we are going to come back. And we lived there for a period of time, but the quality of living there, or the standard of living, is quite hard. It's not so easy on a daily basis. You don't have so many conveniences, and as a modern human, it feels like life shouldn't be hard in unnecessary areas where it shouldn't be hard. So we decided to come back to Cyprus, and we realized that we have everything that we need here. We have fruits, most of the year round. We have, high quality nutrition, in terms of, meat and milk produce. We have sunlight. Now it's been amazing weather, like 40 degrees Celsius in the summertime, and in the wintertime maybe 15 degrees or 10 degrees is like the lowest. So it doesn't really snow here in the town where I'm living. Of course, we have the mountains where it snows, but here down, I live exactly by the sea. So, but yeah, I haven't been traveling around to work so much, but more just to figure out where is like the most optimal place to live, and also because of my studying.
Yeah, sounds good. So you have a lot of experience already all around the world, different environments.
Yeah.
It was funny that you mentioned that Finland is the leading country in biohacking because they have to do it. I agree that there are certain places on the world that you just need something to get back to a balance. And I heard many people are drinking there, for example. This is the
Absolutely.
biohack. There are a lot of depressed people,
Yeah.
suicide. Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
it can all be connected back to lack of sun and lot of that.
Yes. Absolutely.
But you can fix it with the right habits, more or less. Or you move other place where it's just coming naturally and
Yeah.
focus on other stuff in life.
Mhm. The thing is, when you live in a suboptimal environment for human biology, and when I say suboptimal, there is no judgment towards Finland. I absolutely love Finland. Actually, it's like a beautiful country, especially in the nature side of things. Not so much in the city, because city is like blue lights, EMF, noise, sound pollution, like everything distorted, man-made. But nature is beautiful. But basically, like in a Finnish environment, in a more suboptimal environment up north, when you look in nature, there isn't much like thriving in the winter, right? Everything is basically dead. Like, the trees are barely surviving like through the winter. They are designed obviously to be in that environment, but everything, when it comes back around to spring and summer, everything flourishes again. But it's even more, that shows you that it's even more important to take care of your lifestyle habits if you live in that type of environment, because not everybody can move countries like myself. And I understand that. So that means that if you live in a country like the UK, like somewhere Nordic countries, somewhere where you don't get so much sun, you have to be very strict, especially with your circadian health. You have to make sure that you are, blocking the blue light after sunset. You should not be exposed to blue light during the daytime if you are spending time indoors. You need to wear your yellow glasses in the daytime and your red glasses at night. You need to have red lights in your home. You need to get outside in nature as much as possible, because you need to utilize cold exposure, because you are in that environment. You need to condition your body that this is where I'm living. This is how my body needs to function. You need to follow a local and seasonally appropriate diet, which should be primarily carnivore diet and maybe some berries in the summertime in Finland, because that is what the environment is providing for you there. Then you are more circadian aligned, which allows your body to work more optimally where you live. So this is why, just because you have pineapples and papayas in the supermarket in Finland and they come from Costa Rica, that doesn't mean that you should be eating those. And actually, that can potentially be detrimental for your health due to the chaos that it creates inside of the system.
Yeah, it's a mismatch in your brain.
Absolutely.
But I also see that you can live anywhere in the world, a human being, but in some places you need to do more biohacks or adapt to the climate. For example, in this north cold areas, you need to do more cold swimming, ice swimming.
Yeah.
Optimal, which is not so comfortable for many people. I understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can
Exactly.
supposed to be healthy over there. You need to do maybe more cold exposure or diet more strict, and the light environment, of course. And
Yep.
yeah, it's good that you bring up the topic of nutrition and diet. What kind of diet you follow, or it's also connected to the environment where you live.
Absolutely.
Changing.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a very complicated topic, right? Because this is where there is a lot of how would you say it? There are many cults built around diet, right? There are like cults like I cult like what I want to say. I don't want to like judge or bash anybody, but I've tried plant-based diet before. I was plant-based for 5 years. That totally wrecked my health, and I got fat, and I started losing my hair, and my teeth were feeling loose. And so basically, I transitioned to an animal-based diet. So I went to 180 degrees. But before I was animal-based, I was eating a more traditional bodybuilding diet: chicken, rice, broccoli, artificial
Yeah.
sweeteners, protein powders, protein bars, like the regular stuff that a bodybuilder would eat, because that's what I knew, and based on my environment, the time where I was spending with other people, that's what I knew. But then afterwards, like when I went plant-based, that helped me to understand that the food quality is very important. So when I was plant-based, I wasn't eating just anything. I was eating always organic, always local, but I wasn't thinking so much about the seasonal aspect. I wasn't aware of that. So anyway, after my health kind of got ruined because of the plant-based diet, I went back to an animal-based diet because Tina actually, she was the one who said that maybe we should try animal-based diet, because she was plant-based her whole life from as a child, and so her health was also degrading as well at a rapid rate. And so basically, like, because she had been doing it longer than me. And so now we both transitioned to like an animal-based diet maybe 3 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago, or something like that. And yeah, our health just totally transformed. Like, I gained all the muscle back that I lost, because I lost a lot of muscle, even though I was doing the same type of training. I was pushing myself. I was trying to hit my macros, my protein goals and everything like that. But simply, my body was just not getting the nutrition, that bioavailable nutrition that it actually needed. So now I have like more of a balanced approach. I also went to the extreme of doing the carnivore diet as well for a period of time. So I did it for like maybe 4 months, and that also wrecked my health as well. Like, it was useful for like a period of time, but after a while, like after maybe the first month of doing it, the first month was like, for sure, I noticed really, really great results. I felt leaner. I felt like I had more energy. I felt like I was recovering better. But after a while, I started to have, more muscle cramps. I started to be more fatigued. I started to under recover. I started to feel like I've got more aches and pains in my tendons and joints. And I have a feeling that that is because I wasn't consuming enough glycine or enough type of foods, which are more gelatinous type of foods. So I was eating like a lot of methionine rich foods, a lot of red meat and stuff like that. So I wasn't balancing, the inflammation in my system, right? So I believe I had quite high inflammation due to the fact that I was eating only meat-based diet, but also I was doing it in a wrong season. I was eating it in a summertime. So this is like something that I was doing wrong, and then now I'm back to eating a more balanced diet. Now it has been maybe over a couple of months now, 3 months. I'm eating way more carbohydrates, local to my environment, always local and seasonal, and a lot of honey, and of course red meat and eggs and dairy. So now it's more of a, like, what you would consider a repeat style diet. Another, all these different groups of people who believe that this is like the only right way to eat forever and all the season, but it's all about context. So everybody has a point in what they're trying to say, but the thing is that the whole idea is to look at the nature and what the nature is doing. So that means that the winter time, when winter time comes around for me, I will for sure be reducing the amount of carbohydrates that I eat. I probably will not go to zero, because of how I felt on a carnivore diet. I was not feeling 100% optimal. But if I have oranges available in my environment and mandarins and this kind of citrus fruits, I will for sure incorporate some in my diet, definitely. But if a person does not have any fruits available in their environment, if it's like non-existent, and you have only root vegetables or something like this available, then that is the form of carbohydrates that that person should be eating. So that is like, basically everybody needs to look at their environment, what is growing there. And if I have, let's say, pumpkins growing in my environment in the wintertime, I can eat that because that is lower glycemic index compared to, fruits and other, higher sugary, like carbohydrate rich foods. Like nature never makes mistakes, as Dr. Jack Kruse says, right? So there is a reason why like there is more sugary type of fruits in the summertime, because your body is designed to eat those in the summer and not in the wrong seasons, not out of season, because you are supposed to be aligned with the sun and the environment. If you are not spending time in the sun, you have no room to actually eat fruits, because you are actually not telling your body what season it is. To be able for your body to know what season you are in, you have to spend time outside. You have to get grounded every day in the sea or on grass. You have to spend time outdoors in the natural light. Otherwise, your body does not know what season you are living in. You know?
Yeah, it's all connected. It's nice in harmony. And yeah, I also see that there are this diet trends, cults, as you say. I also tried few extremes, but at the end I follow something similar, mostly animal-based, but I'm living in a sunny place. In summertime, I eat more carbs. But also for the exercise, I eat more, but not as much as when I was doing the professional sport, when I was eating 800 grams of carbs every day. And
Wow,
totally
that's next level.
unnecessary. Now I'm fine with 50, 100 grams per day. The rest is protein and fat.
Yeah.
Seasonal veggies, fruits, and I feel I can eat whatever junk food, even a smaller amount, and doesn't affect my health.
Mm.
Because for me, it's more important this circadian rhythm and connected to nature, getting a lot of sun, going in the ocean. Feel my
Yeah.
body so strong that I can handle every shit in a short period of time. Of course not. Will never eat junk food for 1 week or
Mm.
consecutive days too much, but I developed this resistance. Yeah, and I also wrote a book about this. Currently, it's in Hungarian. I will translate to English. Called it Nutrition Religions. Like, for these different approaches of fanatic religion. With
Mm.
each of them has some good points and truths in it, but if you blindly follow one, you will miss a lot of natural wisdom, or how to say.
Yes,
And we
exactly.
can explain with this
And
modern science, quantum biology, and mitochondrial
yeah.
science. You can explain. So, yeah, it always depends on the environment. I also believe what we should eat.
Yeah, seasonality and locality is the key, right? So like the location where you are based, that's number one. Number two is like the season that you are in. And for your body, why it's so important, I believe, to be connected with nature every single day, to get your ass outside and to get your bare feet on the ground and to be like in the natural light. Why it's so important to be outside is because you need to tell your body like what season it is, like what's the information in my environment. Because if you never get outside, like you are more prone, to get sick due to the fact that you are not conditioning your body in the season. You are more likely to burn in the summertime, and you are more likely to get sick in the wintertime because you are never exposed to cold. So like you need to be able to condition your body by being outside. The more before, when we were real humans, when we used to live in an outdoor environment 24/7, we were exposed to the elements of nature all the time, right? In the nighttime, we were exposed to the stars. We didn't have artificial blue light at night. We only had firelight, which is basically infrared light and maybe some other like colors of the color spectrum. And in the daytime, we only had like the daylight, right? And we were always grounded, barefoot to the ground. So thinking that we need some scientific experiment or study to tell us that nature is good for us is insane, because that is actually where we have evolved from. If we look at every single other animal that lives outside, they are living with nature 24/7. We don't think like, oh, what are they doing in the night? Like, how are they sleeping? Are they cold? If it's a bird, is it like sleeping in the tree, is it cold? Yeah, of course it's cold, but it's adapted to its environment, and basically it's going to thrive because of that. The things that are hard for us and the things that make us human are the things that basically that make us connect to nature. So that when we are connected with nature, even though nature has its challenges, those are the things that make us thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely believe we should go every day, it's a small amount of time in nature, and in a local park if you are living in a city. Spend time outdoors, the bare minimum should do every day. And yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a good topic because I know many people start to get this information and understand it, but they are in an environment where it's hard to start. What would you be your recommendation, like top 3 lifestyle habits that you can do immediately start? And most places on the world you can do. What would you do?
Number one is like fix your sleeping habits. That is like the one of the quickest ways to improve your overall health is fix your sleep. I think it's undeniable at this point with the amount of research that there is. And also, again, you don't need research to tell you that sleep is important. When you sleep well, you feel good, right? When you don't sleep well, you feel crap. I don't think you need someone to prove that to you. So that means that, okay, how do I optimize my sleep? Well, the sleep is related to what you are doing during the daytime and leading up to bedtime. So how your habits from waking up in the morning all the way to going to bed is what is going to determine the quality of your sleep. So getting outside during the sunrise doesn't mean you have to stare at the sun, but just being outside in the natural light and putting the bare feet on the ground is one of the incredible ways for telling the body the time of the day, for setting the circadian rhythm, which is the body's biological clock. And the body has many, many clocks, but if those clocks are controlled by the master clock, which is in the brain, and that master clock is impacted by the light in the environment. So if we tell it by the frequency and the color of the light what time of day it is, it knows what to do 12 hours after that, or approximately it knows. So that means that it knows when it should be starting to produce the melatonin, but which is the sleeping hormone and the repair and regeneration hormone. But if we are exposed to blue lights, which are basically all modern lighting these days, after sunset, so after the sun has set, we're exposed to blue lights. Now we are destroying our ability to release melatonin effectively in our blood, which means that we cannot get sleepy because melatonin is what makes us sleepy and drowsy and makes us feel relaxed. We need to feel like this before bed. If we don't feel like sleepy and relaxed and drowsy before bed, a couple of hours before, we are not going to be able to fall asleep efficiently. So number one tip is block the blue light after sunset and get outside during the sunrise. Those are like one of the most impactful things that you can do. Number two is breathe through your nose. Like most people breathe through their mouth. And this is obviously putting the body in a sympathetic state, right? Because when we are upper respiratory breathing, when we breathe through the mouth, most of the times we are upper respiratory breathing, which activates the sympathetic nervous system, which means it puts us in fight and flight. So this is the state of alertness. This is the cortisol elevation. This is the stress response to make us alert and focused that there is a threat and a stress in the environment. That is what you would do when you see something threatening. You would gasp for air through your mouth, which would activate your sympathetic nervous system to be able to run away from the threat or fight the threat. Now, when you breathe through your nose, you are activating the parasympathetic nervous system because you breathe more deeper into the bottom of your lungs. The bottom of the lungs are high in like receptors, which are activating the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is actually allowing you to be more in a restful state and making you feel more relaxed and signaling to your brain that we are safe in this environment. So if the body feels safe, that means it's not under stress. Because stress is a very energy costly process for the body. It uses a lot of energy. So most people who are stressed, they will notice that they also don't have a lot of energy and they need to drink a lot of coffee. So that is further exacerbating the stress by drinking more coffee, not being able to sleep, being more stressed, mouth breathing. So it's a repetitive cycle. So to be able to break the cycle, we need to address first the stressor, remove the stress from our life as much as we can, breathe through the nose, so we are minimizing the amount of stress through by the way that we breathe. It's also going to improve the way that we sleep as well, because we go into a deeper sleep when we breathe through the nose versus we're breathing through the mouth. And we also balance this carbon dioxide and oxygen levels in the blood, which means that if I have a higher carbon dioxide in my blood, I can release effectively more oxygen from my red blood cells into the system so it can utilize it. But if I'm exhaling and inhaling through my mouth, I'm releasing too much carbon dioxide, which is now not allowing the red blood cell to be, the oxygen to be released from the red blood cell. So that means even though we are breathing, our body is starving of air. Imagine. So that means that actually, even though you think you are breathing and you're getting enough air, you're actually depriving your body of oxygen. So it's actually running on anaerobic metabolism, which is an inefficient form of energy, which means we produce lactate or we produce lactic acid, and we are using primarily carbohydrate, glucose as a fuel. This is an inefficient form of metabolism, which allows us to get fatigued easier, tired more easily, right? And basically we run out of energy. So that's number two. And the number three would be like, obviously, to take care of your diet and eat like seasonally appropriate diet. So this is going to have a huge impact on your health. Like, yes, exercising is important for your health, but diet is literally the building blocks of your body. It's how your body actually regenerates itself. It determines like how your body is going to be rebuilt. Do you want to be made out of shit? Then eat shit. Do you want to be made out of good nutrition? And do you want your body to be made of like the best stuff in the world? Then eat the best stuff in the world. And what is the best stuff in the world? The best stuff in the world is not man-made food. It's like what nature provides. So what has always been here beyond 100 years ago, 200, 300 years ago. Meat, eggs, dairy products, and fruits and honey, and like basically like edible carbohydrates in our environment. Everything else is just nonsense. There is time and place for some supplementation, because we are living in a modern world where things are more suboptimal, right? And this is why we have to supplement to optimize certain functions of our body. If we cannot get certain nutrients from food, or we want to optimize our performance and take our, performance cognitively and physically to the next level. But that shouldn't be like the primary focus. The primary focus should be the diet. So blocking blue light at night, protecting circadian rhythms, nasal breathing, and diet, eating seasonally and locally appropriate diet.
Yeah, very good top three. I would take it. Thanks for all the explanation around. I hope it's more clear for everyone why top three. They are absolutely free and easy to implement, more or less. Everyone
Absolutely.
in the world. I like them. They have a huge impact if you start on your energy levels and sleep, moods, everything. Totally agree and recommend this top three. So I think we covered a lot of cool topics. Great explanations. So thank you, Andreas, joining today.
Thank you, Mihaly, for having me. It's been a fun conversation. I really enjoyed it.
And one more question, and I know you are helping people in these topics, where they can find you and how you can help them in which areas in their life.
So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. So people can find my work like on my social media channels. On Instagram, you can find a lot of the stuff that we talked about today. I share a lot of like free tips on there for nutrition, exercising, mobility, like unconventional training, even gym workout stuff as well, and lifestyle, circadian rhythms. So that's like at my handle at Andreas_David_Christou. I'm sure it will also be in the YouTube description of this video. And you can also work with me one-on-one through my website. So you will find all my services listed on there. And if there is something that is not listed on there that you would be interested in learning, just send me a message or an email. And so my website is mobility-fitness.com, and just pop me an email and just say hi, and I'll be happy to get you on board.
Yeah, sounds good. So thanks again, and hope to see you and talk to you soon. Yeah.
Thank you, Mihaly. Thank you so
Bye.
much for the opportunity.